Hello, everyone. I'm Alex, and I lead the Christian charity Faith in Later Life. Today, we're going to be talking about pensioner poverty and what it can look like in real life, what can push someone into hardship in later life, and how churches can respond with practical love. To help us explore this important topic, I'm really pleased to be joined by Alison Berry from Christians Against Poverty. Alison's CAP journey started over 13 years ago. She volunteered as a CAP money coach, running sessions in schools, church, and HMP Bronzefield. And over 11 years ago, was part of a team setting up the CAP Debt Centre in Egham. She always thought CAP would be a volunteering passion, but God clearly had other ideas. After a long career, mainly in FMCG marketing and innovation, with Cadbury's, Hasbro, then 12 years at Mars, where they make Malteser bunny and Malteser truffles, just to mention a few. She joined CAP as the region lead for the Southeast in April 2022, bringing together a passion for the local church with customer focus and agile innovation possibilities. She moved to the new role of Regional Director South England in July 2025. Alison, it's so good to have you with us today. Thank you for joining me.
It's a delight. Thank you for the invitation. I think we've got a lot in common, so it'd be great to explore that today.
Yes, we've had some good conversations already a few weeks ago, so it would be good to record some of these so that others can listen in to some of the things that you have to share with us. So, Alison, when we talk about pensioner poverty, what does that look like in real life? We see it as a statistic, perhaps on social media and in the news, but what's the reality for people who are experiencing pensioner poverty in later life? And what do you wish people understood better about that?
Great question. And what we see from all of our research at Christians Against Poverty is that currently today, 1 in 5 people in the UK are living in poverty. And by that, we mean they do not have sufficient income in order to cover the essentials of life. So your housing and the essential bills that go alongside that, obviously food as well, and clothing. And that lack of income is what is the key driver for leading people into poverty and debt. And so when you extend that insight or piece of research into the pensioner age group, you can see that that is the one where incomes often drop. And we know that state pensions or even private pensions, they do not keep pace with the rate of inflation often. And therefore, as all of those essential items have gone up so much in cost, therefore people on the lower incomes, and that obviously includes pensioners, are almost disproportionately affected. So that is the reality. And I think people who are older within that age group of pensioners, because obviously it's quite a wide age group itself, they're the ones that are often at home more, maybe slightly less mobile, have often got maybe some other health conditions, and therefore not being able to heat your home properly exacerbates all of those underlying conditions. And I would say that there are many and varied reasons why people can get into debt. And obviously we've said the key one, which is you just don't have sufficient income to cover your essentials. But it can often be, say, a bereavement or a change of circumstances. And those things often, again, apply maybe more to some of the older generation. And therefore, I mean, I can share some stories later, but often a bereavement can spiral, maybe a situation that was actually okay, into something that suddenly isn't okay. And the impact of debt on people of all ages is absolutely huge. The psychological toll, the sleepless nights, the fear of somebody knocking at your door, all of those sorts of things. And again, those things and fears maybe disproportionately impact on older people and pensioners as well. So there's a, I don't like to use the word double whammy, but there's a increased impact that they don't have the sufficient income, and then the consequences maybe hit them harder as well.
Yeah, and not to now bring in the triple whammy, but is it the case that perhaps in the current older generation, there's still a reluctance to ask for help when it comes to financial matters? Do you think that could exacerbate that situation, or make it a long-term thing when perhaps it doesn't need to be?
Yes, absolutely. And we know, and lots of our statistics and data are across the adult population as a whole, but we do know that 1/3 of our clients wait up to a year before making a call for help. And sorry, 2/3 wait up to a year, but 1/3 wait up to 3 years.
Right.
And I think it would be my assumption that many people who wait would maybe be because of those stigma, shame, maybe not even knowing where to go for help, or the idea if you've got to whatever age you have, you should be able to sort this out yourself, maybe. And quite often it could be the death of a relative that was maybe helping you, a partner that was in control of the finances. And we have seen that with several of our clients in the past, that it has been the death of a spouse that has suddenly spiraled things. In amongst the grief, they cannot then deal with finances as well.
Yeah, and actually budgeting it isn't that easy if you're the person who hasn't always been doing it.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
even
And
knowing
obviously,
what things cost,
yeah, what things cost, plus things such as digital exclusion as well, given that so many things are now paid online and set up. And if you haven't got the skill yourself, and then the person that maybe was doing that with you or for you also can't help anymore, and that can lead to a bit of a spiral as well.
Yeah, and they miss out on getting the best deals. You or I might go on a comparison website to, every year. I mean, I do it every year to check, am I getting the best deal on my car insurance, my heating, my home insurance, and all of those things. And yeah, if you are digitally excluded, you do miss out on those good deals potentially.
Yes.
Um, are there any other trigger points or causes of pensioner poverty that you wanted to get into while we're here? Or do you feel that we've covered that?
I think we have covered quite a few.
Yeah.
I think another one, though, could be just ill health. And so some people, I don't know the actual statistics of the number of people that are of pensionable age that also continue to work. But equally, if that is an important part of your additional income in order to live, and then health reasons often mean that people give up work and additional income maybe sooner than they wanted to, or if they stop driving, for example, and then can't access maybe work that they used to, or even that lack of transport can then stop you accessing maybe some cheaper services, so a cheaper supermarket or something. So again, there are just many factors that come into
Yes. Yes, and the whole issue of finishing work prematurely for whatever reason is bound to have an enormous impact, because you're digging into your reserves sooner than you anticipated. You've no longer got a facility for building up those reserves, or to build up money for when things go wrong. It's actually one of the things that I find quite interesting is this whole ageism in the workplace. There are some people who are finishing work earlier in life, or they're not working as long as they could or would like to, because they're just not getting the support as a person that in later life in the workplace. And so that's something that some organizations have begun to get much better at. But again, it's something that actually would help the whole pensioner poverty issue, is if workplaces were places where you could grow old and work if you wanted to. beyond your retirement age, and many people do, and not just because they have to avoid pensioner poverty, but because it gives them a purpose and a sense of achievement, and it's actually really good for some people to continue to work and to be engaged in their communities or interesting subjects like that. So yeah,
exactly. Some people are, they feel that, or for whatever reason, they have to stop earlier than maybe they would have wanted to do, and yes, obviously, then that can cause some
yeah.
significant financial issues
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, it's brilliant to see. I was in a supermarket on the weekend, and there was somebody on the till who I would say was significantly past retirement age, and he was really clearly enjoying his job. I don't know how many
Yes.
shifts he does, but
Well,
it
my
was
my mother-in-law was working in a large supermarket. I won't mention the
no,
she started actually after retiring from another job. She started working
right.
there, and she finished about a year or so ago, aged 87.
Mm. Wow, that's brilliant, isn't it?
Not for
Yeah, and
everyone, not for everyone.
no, and nor should we be forced to continue longer than is right for us. But if it does you good, and if it helps to support your flourishing finances as well, then it should certainly be an option for people.
Yeah.
Um, Tell us about Christians Against Poverty. What is the heart behind CAP's work for anyone who doesn't know? And can you tell us any stories about any older people who CAP have supported that would bring this to life?
Okay, Christians Against Poverty. Well, we need to go back 30 years. We're celebrating our 30-year anniversary this year, and 30
Happy
years
birthday.
impact, yes. And Christians Against Poverty, I would describe as a church-based movement that was founded by a man called John Kirkby, and it was born out of his lived experience of debt and poverty, and now exists in a very different form, a very different scale, in order to tackle both the reality of people living in debt and poverty today, and also to tackle some of the root causes of poverty, the systemic things that need changing. But we only operate through the local church. So they are the hands and feet of Jesus on the ground in their local communities, offering free services at the point of need, that are regulated, authorized debt advice. We do budgeting, so the money management effectively. And then we run some community groups as well through the local church, either doing life skills or actually job clubs to help people back into employment, often after quite a long period of time, maybe without employment. And all of that is done through the local church, because we honestly believe that poverty is holistic, that actually poverty came through the fall and robs us of way more than just material. It robs us of our emotional well-being. It robs us of relationships. We see that debt and poverty can be very isolating, for example. And actually, we want to show people very personally that there is a saviour that loves them, and they are not on their own. So that is why always through the local church, and it is just that very practical, well, it's a combination, a very powerful combination of very practical support, helping people where they are. It is the support of a loving church community that can start to affect change and to support people on what can often be quite a long journey. And then, of course, it is the love of Jesus Christ. And it's those three things that come together well. And over those 30 years, we have, and we estimate, because the data over 30 years isn't always totally accurate, but we estimate that £500 million worth of debt has been either paid back or written off. And about 35,000 people have gone completely debt free.
Wow, that's amazing.
So yeah, it absolutely incredible, that movement, but only operates through the church,
Mm.
because that is right there in the local community
Yeah. Yeah.
to work.
So just to backtrack a tiny bit, just I think I know the answer to this, but just for anyone who doesn't know, um, people who come and seek CAPS help, they're not given money to pay off their bills, are they? No.
Absolutely not,
What
no.
is it that happens? Is this is
So
kind of some sort of
yeah,
training and coaching and about how to manage money?
so it's two different things. If I take someone who would come to us with significant debt for whatever reason, um, again, it would be people who would come. It's very much face to face, which is important to say, because many people that are struggling, although there are online telephone services out there, often people, when they're in this desperate situation, they need somebody to come and see them face to face. So
Mm.
local people come and meet and gather up all of the information, hear their story, gather up all of that important paperwork. And then we have Financial Conduct Authority regulated trained debt advisors based mainly at our support hub in Bradford, where the charity started. And they go through all of that information, go through the case. They talk to creditors, put holds on things, sometimes do some negotiation to get things cleared or wiped off. At the same time, they also check whether there's any eligibility for maybe a benefit that that person isn't claiming, to make sure that they can actually maximise their income. And they work through that process in order to give them the debt advice.
Mm.
And that could be a number of routes out of debt. It could be a form of insolvency, so either bankruptcy or a debt relief order, which is like bankruptcy, but it's a form of insolvency for people that are on a lower income and have a lower level of debt and no assets, such as a house, for example. Or it could be some form of repayment plan.
Mm.
Over 5 years. We don't like to tie people up longer than 5 years, because that's
Yeah.
long enough to work through.
Mm.
And then that would be negotiated with any of the creditors. And so we become effectively, we receive a payment from those people every month, and then we distribute it to the creditors after usually having significantly reduced the total amount
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah.
So we do not pay back anybody's debt.
No.
So we don't pay it. We give the advice, and then either it is cleared through a form of insolvency or it's cleared through a form of
Yeah.
repayment and some other solutions.
Really good. And that's equipping people with the tools to actually keep that going beyond the 5 years,
Exactly.
isn't it? To make
So
different choices going forward.
when we give somebody debt advice, we effectively deliver them a working budget. So we will say, this is your route out of debt, but this is what it would mean. And we put together a full income and expenditure for them statement in order to show
Yeah.
how they would maintain that afterwards.
Really good. And I can imagine that there would be a number of older people who aren't familiar with the various benefits that they may be entitled to. I expect there's a figure out there somewhere of unclaimed benefit.
There is, it's
Um,
billions, it's
yeah,
billions.
yeah.
And obviously pension credit being one of those, or there are
Mm.
obviously other things from disability living allowance, many other things that would be available. And we know
Yeah,
it is billions that's
yeah.
unclaimed.
So yeah, it's really helpful to have some people that could help somebody work through that, and to determine, is there something that I'm not getting that I could be getting. Yeah, really good stories, Alison. Tell us some
Yes,
stories.
I've got a couple of stories. And the first one, I sort of need to share a slight trigger warning, because one of the very sad realities from our client statistics, and obviously behind every statistic is a person, but we know that from new clients that come to us, 1 in 2 has considered or attempted suicide before coming to us for help. And that is right across the age spectrums. Um, and if I talk about Penny, and people either give us permission to use their names or we change their name.
Change the name. Yep.
Yeah, so just talking about Penny, and her story can be summed up actually as from breakdown to breakthrough. And her finances spiraled following a divorce, which again is quite uncommon in older age groups, but does happen.
Happens.
But yeah, she had a divorce, and then also her brother-in-law died, and he had really been supporting her living costs and her practically. And she faced, I think it was around £35,000 of debt. And she just suffered an absolute breakdown, and she prepared to end her life. As a result, she said she had nothing to live for. And actually, it was a friend who said to her, nobody's finances are beyond help, and introduced her to CAP. And they started that journey that I was describing before. So they visited her in her own home, and they set up a manageable, that was actually a 6-year repayment plan that she could work through. And that's 6 years, but she was supported all the way along that journey by her local church championing her. And she's now debt free, and she works as a volunteer for her local church as a result. And I love that. One of the Bible passages that's been so important for us over the years at CAP is Isaiah 61, and the idea of bringing good news to the poor, etc. But I love the way that that goes on to say that they should be called oaks of righteousness, and they will be involved in the rebuilding of their communities. And actually, they are the people that have been restored. And we see that time and time again, that people who have been released and set free are the ones who want to journey alongside other people to bring that hope as well. And Penny just thought she just said it's so frightening. It's so frightening, the thought that they, and by that she means sort of the bailiffs, the enforcement agencies, could come and take everything. And the idea that there was an organisation that would just come alongside her and offer no criticism, no judgment. It was just, okay, well, we'll start where you are and we'll walk through that. So that's Penny. And then we've got Anne. And Anne worked until she was 75. She worked till she was 75, and partly because she had to. That's what she had to do. And then when she did retire, her pension was just too small to survive on. Again, cost of living crisis that's come through. It just wasn't enough without her working. And 75 is quite a long time to continue working. And so after paying for her bills, she was left with just £10 a week for food and everything else. So once the essentials are gone, that's all she had left. And so she just turned into some sort of survival strategy. And again, maybe now people don't feel as either embarrassed or they'd get a referral to a food bank. But, again, there's that stigma, or maybe there isn't one close. And so she describes as just being forced to turn vegetarian because all I could afford was the chickpeas. Not that there's anything the matter with being a vegetarian.
No, I like chickpeas, but not every day.
And the toll on her was actually enormous. Her health declined, and ended up actually testing her doctor tested her for a calcium deficiency, and then it exacerbated some underlying health conditions like arthritis, and then she couldn't afford to turn on the heating. So everything just spiraled for Anne. And she just came to us and she said, it just doesn't add up. This isn't living. It's just an existence. And she said, the current reality is putting old people into an early grave. And that's awful. The good news is she's now debt-free and in a really good place.
Thank you for sharing those stories, Alison. It's really good to hear those real life examples, and praise God for the way in which both of those ladies have been able to move on. One of them certainly is now really, her life sounds like it's enriched by now helping and getting involved in the community and supporting others. Can you tell us a bit more about that, about this encouragement to actually be part of this solution for some people?
Definitely. And, I would encourage anybody that's listening to get involved in helping people in the community. And if I think about some churches in Belfast, for example, great story there, where Some older ladies, part of the church, thought that they had nothing to bring, to be honest, in terms of, what can we offer. And when they started to do a little bit of an exploration about, okay, what are the needs in our community right on our doorstep? And they realized there was quite a lot of young and often single mothers. And they just thought, we've got loads of life experience in this area. And it just started by them saying, do you know what? We've got a knitting group that we get together. We're actually going to knit some things and introduce and, go and deliver them to these people. So that's how it started, just by using the skill and hobby that they had, saying, we can equip them practically. We can knit some blankets, some other bits to really support these young mums that are struggling. And actually it went far beyond that. So rather than just going, there's a single mums project, we're going to provide some things, it started to build community trust. And then they were able to start sharing skills. So money saving tips, even a bit of parenting knowledge and things, how to deal with a screaming baby at night and all that sort of stuff. And actually just lovely to see that multi-generational thing flourishing. And I love the fact that that was born out of thinking, we don't have much to offer, and they just look, what have we got in our hands right now? And if we bring that, who knows what might become of that. And then were just that was just ended up being a real blessing to the ladies themselves, actually, because they were, I have got skills to share, I have got something to offer. And I think there's many things that people can do to get involved. And it always starts with what's already in our hands, maybe what skill that I do have. And although we can easily make generalizations about older people and maybe digital exclusion, that doesn't mean that that's everybody. And therefore, if you're listening to that and you are good at online banking or comparison websites or whatever else it might be, then why not offer that to other people for whom it would really, really benefit? That whole side-by-side support of just sitting alongside somebody and sharing your wisdom and experience. And I think one of the things that I would say, particularly about the whole area of money and finance, I would say normalize the conversations about money and check in with people, how they're doing. I think in a way that starts to reduce the idea that people feel a bit isolated. And often just looking for hidden signs in people, particularly if there's, say, people in the church that are older, if they suddenly look a bit thinner, often there can be things going on beside that, or always wearing lots of coats and stuff because maybe they just can't afford to put the heating on. So I think it's practical stuff, but it's just maybe just opening our eyes a little bit to go, how could we support, and what are some of the smaller things that we can do. And I know from all of our CAP services, which are many and varied, that our older volunteers are just such an incredible blessing, because often they have the time, again, can be a bit of a cliche, but they have the time. They often have the patience. We have so many volunteers that will make cakes for new clients so that they can be delivered, and what a blessing to get homemade cake and stuff. So I think it's what's in my hands, and how can I use it to bless the community around me.
Absolutely. And we at Faith in Later Life, we're always encouraging people, as they enter later life, to adapt by all means. It's not necessarily gonna, volunteering doesn't look necessarily like it did in our 20s or 30s, but how can we adapt with the skills and the gifts that the Lord has given us to now offer something in our communities. I love the examples of supporting the younger people, the younger mums, and some good tips there about how to identify some of the need in our communities as well. What can local churches do that genuinely helps, both practically and relationally? And how could somebody who's interested connect with CAP if they're worried for themselves and their own finances, or if they're worried about an older person and their finances at the moment? What can we do? What can churches do?
So, having said about digital exclusion, there's a lot of people, and obviously, website and social media is great for finding out everything to do with Christians Against Poverty and how you can get involved. Our website is capuk.org.
Mm-hmm.
And on there, you can find out absolutely everything from how your church can get involved, from running a service to there's some other things that you can explore on there. There's lots of free tools on there. There's lots of blogs, particularly there's one about pension credits. So in terms of a central place to go for resources for your church, and how you could be involved as an individual are on there. We even have things on our capuk.org website. We have a link to a benefits calculator. So if you were just concerned for somebody and wanted to do a quick check yourself in terms of are they eligible for something, it's 10 minutes, just put in some information and at least it would tell you whether they were eligible. So that's a very, very practical tool that can be used from our website. And there's also, in terms of if you know somebody that actually needs help with one of our services, there's a very simple postcode checker. So you just put in your postcode and it will say what services are available. So somebody that you knew, for example, that needed face-to-face debt help, you would put that in and it would show you your nearest centre and then would give you the free phone number to call to get booked in. Or indeed, if it was a case of them wanting to do a money management course, budgeting course, for example, it would show you where those were in your location as well.
And so I take it from what you're saying that CAP and these centres are quite widespread throughout the UK.
Absolutely,
that there
yes.
would be one relatively close. Or what happens if you're not near one? Then what?
So if you weren't actually near to a face-to-face debt centre, and a plea there, if you're listening to this and you're part of a church and you don't run, if there isn't one in your location, please get in contact because we want to make sure that this help is available throughout the United Kingdom. We do have a lot of services and centres. We do have generally good coverage. And if somebody was in a location where there wasn't coverage, we would straight away show what other support might be available. So we would give them another couple of free phone numbers for some national services. They might not be face to face, but at least would start the journey of somebody being able to get help. And I would say that people asking for help or being willing to get help is a massively brave step. So if you are talking to somebody that you know really could do with that help, I would say maybe go a little bit further. Don't just give them the number and say, here you go. Maybe just sit with them while they make that first phone call. That would make a massive difference to the confidence that people would have to make that really important first step.
Yeah, it's a privilege to be told that kind of thing, isn't it? And so we have to hold it very, very gently and pursue it with the person to get that first step of real help. Thank you, Alison. That's really helpful. That's given us a real flavour of Christians Against Poverty, also how your work pertains to older people. And of course, we heartily encourage people of all ages to become debt-free and to have the flourishing life that the Lord promises. You were talking earlier about the righteous and the oaks. And of course, in Psalm 92, it actually reminds us that the righteous will flourish in the courts of our God. And so this connection with people finding their way to a debt-free life through the church, and then finding a whole life and a church family and a purpose for the whole of their lives is it's an incredible journey for somebody. And it may well start with that first cry for help to help people work their way out of their situation. Thank you, Alison. That's been really helpful. Remind us again of the website that people should go to find out more.
So capuk.org.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Alison, for joining us today. Thank you if you've been watching or listening into our conversation today. As Alison said, you can find out more on CAP's website. If you're interested in what Faith in Later Life is all about, then do come along to our website as well, which is faithinlaterlife.org. We're praying for you that you have a wonderful day. God bless.